Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden. I am going to be talking about authority abuse with you today. Authority abuse is something that we all feel, and it does not have a name. So I'm giving it a name. Shakespeare. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other would smell as sweet. What is in a name is the power to strip it of its authority, gaze upon its naked truth, and put yourself in perspective, in relativity to the name. That is what a name is. That is why it is so vital that we name things. Because when you name things, you know its authority, you know its truth, and you know your relativity to it. In truth, there are only, let's break this down. Let's talk about authority. There is self-authority, which is one of the, well, this is the core of what I talk on, is self-authority. And that is your only authority, self-authority. There is no one higher than you. Now, people are going to argue and say, well, what about law? All right, well, calm down. We're going to go over this. Law, when you are educated in ethics, the very first thing you learn is that your ethics is what keeps you aligned. Now, people are going to argue, but no one's ethical. Look at, because our ethical IQ is low. And ethical IQ is the thing, it's the education, it's the knowledge, it's the discipline. It is all of the logic and all of the science of our knowledge. It is our knowledge base. Right now, we live in a society with zero ethical IQ. Zero ethical IQ. You want to know who studies ethics for a living? Philosophers. Raise your hand if you're a philosopher. The only one who studies ethics for a living are philosophers. Oh, I'm one. I can raise my hand. Ontological physicist of 30 years plus. I know my shit when it comes to ethics. No one's teaching them. As a result, all of us are born not knowing anything about our ethical IQ. So our ethical IQ at the moment in the culture is literally 0%. Now, this is the most gorgeous, beautiful thing about the human being. Oh my fucking God, do I love this about humans. Wow, do I love this. This is my favorite thing. Like, I say favorite thing all the time. This one, like, this is the archetype of the favorite thing. This is the be-all, end-all. We have been without this knowledge since literally 380 CE. 1,600 years we have been without any ethical knowledge. And we are so driven to be good people. It's amazing. We will self-destruct before we will be a bad person. We don't know. Oh, we're trying. My God, are we trying? And we just don't know. So we're all guessing at what is the right way. We are driven. It is the core being, the core essence of every single one of us, that to not have this information is to literally cripple the human mind. It is extraordinary. It is the most beautiful power thing about the human being. The ethics are our humanity. And yes, we have been living without it 100% since 380 CE, when Rome destroyed Alexandria and took the knowledge base away from us. Ethics are our humanity. It is the most amazing thing. I'm surprised we're not dead. I'm like, whoa, we made it. Holy shit, we made it. Look how far we've come. Give yourself a pat on the back. Seriously, without the ethics, this is the best we could do. And I'm telling you, without the ethics, that says a lot about the human being. That says so much about humanity, that we tried so hard to be good people without the ethics. And as you go into the work that I teach you, the more you go into the work of learning your ethical IQ, the more you're going to go, oh my God, how are we not dead? And I'm going to go, I know, right? It's extraordinary. This is the true beauty, the true power, the true goodness of human people. During my research days, I spoke to some really horrific people, the worst of the worst. And they cried, they sobbed, and told me, I've done such horrible, bad things. And they had remorse. They had severe regret and no hope in our educational system, no hope in our society, and zero hope in our psychology department that they could be helped. But my God, did they wish they could be. The worst of human beings, the monsters of our culture, sobbed because of their regret. That is how good we are. We're just clueless. This is just a problem with education because we lost the ethical IQ literally 380 CE because the Roman Empire destroyed Alexandria, which is where it was taught. So we're going to take a step back. We're going to really just, let's look at authority. When you study ethics, the very first thing you get when you study the ethics is education. The second thing you get is your ethics. And the second thing, or the third thing you get is power. Now, this is the order of operations. This is the chain reaction. If you do not study education, you do not get the ethics. If you do not get the ethics, you do not get power. You do not get power any other way. You cannot take this educational course for the power. Oh, you failed right there. You're not going to get it. If you are here for the power, Mother Nature says nope, because you've missed the point. It's extraordinary. She fail-safed this with logic so perfectly. There is no way anyone can try to get the power until and unless they pursue the ethics for the sake of the ethics. If you pursue ethical IQ knowledge for the power, you'll fail and you won't get the power. My God, is she a genius? So it's the educational journey. It's a precise order of education, which Plato put in his curriculum, that beautiful man, that leads to the ethics, that leads to power. So the more powerful and the more educated you become, the more educated you become, the more ethical you become. The more ethical you become, the more powerful you become. So literally, a person is powerful in ratio to how ethical they are. Power is literally the summation of ethics. And that's it. So goddamn beautiful. The summation of the ethics is love. The more you learn the ethics, the more you integrate it into you, the more they integrate together, and it is pure love. The ethics are the ingredient for love. So beautiful. Now, you have self-authority as your ultimate authority. Your ethics are who you answer to. Your ethics. 100%. Your ethics are who you answer to. Once you go through the educational program of the ethics, you gain 3 other authority figures: love, logic, and truth. And you become their servant. There is nothing higher than love, logic, and truth. Nothing. There is no other authority. Love, logic, and truth, you are their little bitch. And you happily exercise the 36th ethic in order to do that. The 36th ethic is consensual slavery. It is a beautiful thing. Consensual slavery is 100% what you learn at the 36th ethic when you 100% turn yourself over to love, logic, truth. You integrate love, logic, and truth, and you have Mother Nature, which is also math, logic, and physics. And that is how the world goes round. So now we're going to take a step back and look at self-authority. Self-authority abuse is 100% what every single person is abused with. But we don't know it. We don't know it. We don't know its name. We have no concept of this. We don't understand this. So we look at something like self-authority abuse, and we don't know what we're dealing with. We're clueless. What results from self-authority abuse is a delusion. This is important. A delusion of loss of power. Not the power itself. You can't lose power. Physics doesn't work that way. That's the most beautiful thing about all of this, is when you start to study the physics, which is what I teach here, when you start to understand the physics of how power works, it can't be stolen. It can't be taken. That's not how you transfer power. Oh, not at all. It can't be taken. It's not possible. It's a delusion of lost power because physics says so. So once you understand that power is something that you only give, how to transfer power is this way. And this is the only way you can transfer power. Value. Oh, God damn, no, not now. I just lost half of the formula. No, there's another word. What's the other word? Oh, quality. Quality. Value and quality. If you do not set your quality standards, then you're not going to have you're not going to define that. You have to define that. You're going to have an X. Value is the other one. Now, this is where a lot of people have a problem. When we are abused, we value something from our abuser. We value something from our abuser. Now, people don't want to be honest with themselves about this. And this is where if you're not honest about yourself, you're not going to go through with this. You value, you get a reward from your abuser. You are loyal to your abuser because you get a reward. There is no other way. If you did not, this is not how the human brain works. This is not how the logical system of the human mind works. You are loyal to an abuser. You are afraid of an abuser. You listen to and adhere to the law and the rule of an abuser because you are getting a reward from the abuser. You value that reward from the abuser. So you have to ask the question, what reward am I getting from my abuser? That's a big one. You are getting a reward. That is the only reason why you are there. What reward are you getting from your abuser? Once you have that answer, you can break it down and realize, are you really getting that reward from your abuser? Now, here are the rewards that you are most likely getting from your abuser. Safety is the first one. Acceptance. Yeah, that's all you get. That's it. You are either doing it for your safety or you are doing it to be accepted. Now, some people might feel they are doing it for love, but that is not love. That is not love. Not at all. Those are the people who think that love is a transaction that has to be traded. Well, if I do X, that is called I'm thinking consensual, and that's the wrong word. I got to think. Conditional. That is called conditional love, but conditional love actually is not love at all. That's a logical fallacy. There's no such thing as conditional love. Love is not conditional. Love is 100% unconditional. True love is 100% without condition. That's what loyalty is. Look up loyalty. Like loyalty is literally just true love. True love equals loyalty. Look up loyalty, and that will define what true love is for you. It is called unconditional belonging, unconditional acceptance. That is love. It is when you see someone, when you know them, and you accept them anyway. That is love. Period. This is not negotiable. This is not something to debate. This is pure logic. When you see someone, when you know them, when you accept them anyway, that is love. And that leads to loyalty. Loving, accepting somebody unconditionally, no matter what. Now, there's going to be a lot of unethical people or people with low ethical IQ asking fearful questions like, well, wait a minute, what if they're treating me badly and abusing me? That's not love. That is not love. This is easily one of the most common things that we just switch around in our minds that we really struggle understanding is that you do not, when you truly love someone, when you go through that process, when you get to that point of using your circle of trust and you bring them into your intimate circle like that, without any fear of being rejected for who and what you are, that is love. There is no abuse at that stage. You live entirely without abuse. And that is so foreign to most people that they cannot understand it. That's a whole other lesson that we need to dive into, is trying to imagine a world with actual love and then being able to determine when you have love and when you don't have it. Most people are born without love. We call it not A. If you are born in not A, you are not going to know what love is. People know this. They have no idea what love is. So they're looking around. They're hypothesizing ideas. This is the most amazing thing of all of my research, was how rare we knew truth, how little we knew of love. Was there anything else? No, that was it. How little we know of truth and how little we know of love. Oh, reality, that's the other one. These were the top three things. I was so flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, we do not know what truth is. We do not know what love is. And we do not know what reality is. These are the three truths of the human being. We do not know what truth is. We do not know what love is. And we do not know what reality is. Fortunately, these were the questions I asked when I was 4. I wanted to know what love was. I wanted to know the truth. So I began my pilgrimage when I was 4. Truth, love, and reality. I wanted those questions. Truth, love, and reality, which is why I'm an ontologist, because you have to be an ontologist in order to understand reality. And ontology isn't a subject you just wake up one day and go, I'm going to be an ontologist, and you are. No, it takes decades. Well, does it take decades of study? It takes decades of study. Does it take decades of, I got to think. No, it takes decades of study. It takes decades of study. You cannot short-cheat that. You want to become an ontologist, you're going to be studying for 30 years. It is a lifelong mastery. It is the philosopher level, skill set level. There's apprentice, now you're a student. That's discipulous. This is actually the skill set. I love this stuff so much. So you have 4 skill set levels. You have apprentice, you have tradesman, you have master, and then you have philosopher. The apprentice, that's going to be your discipulus. That is Latin for a follower of a philosopher or a student of a philosopher. You are called a discipulus. Discipuli for plural. You are a tradesman. You are still a discipulus. At master level, you are a philosopher-ish. And at the next level, you become an ontologist. There you go. Discipulus, philosopher-ish, and then ontologist. And you step into, there's several ways you can go with that. I went existential. I love existentialism. That was my doorway. I'm like, oh my God, yes, please. So I went into existentialism, and that led into the world of metaphysics. And then you get into the world of ontology. So metaphysics comes in at the mastery level. Metaphysics is the master level. Existential is the apprentice level. And then ontology is the philosopher level. So I was a metaphysicist for about 10 years. And then I became an ontologist. When I became an ontologist, that's when I was like, I'm okay to call myself a philosopher now. I can call myself a philosopher. And it is a very personal judgment where you sit down and you have a conversation with your ethical self and you say, have you earned this title? I have earned it. And my God, you earn it. So that is the philosophical pathway of where a person needs to be in order to get to this level. So truth, love, and reality. And the ontologist is the philosopher, the advanced philosopher who studies, dissects, masters the science of reality. And, well, I will be blunt. You know what reality is. When you have to sit down with your altar and hug her and cry in her arms, well, she says to you, I'm not real. I'm an altar. Nothing I've done for the last 32 years is real. And then you have to explain logically to her why she is real. Because you know, if she doesn't believe that she is real after 32 years, that is a road that leads to self-destruction and suicide. That is when you realize you have to completely rewire everything you thought you ever knew about reality. Because when you have a clone, an alter, literally cleaning to logical truth for a foundation of reality to understand the self. And if you don't lay down that logical fabrication beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know it's going to end with suicide. because she was very much a part of me for 32 years. So until you have that conversation with yourself, when you have to convince a fictional part of yourself that she is very real, you completely rewire everything you thought you knew about reality. And then when you do that, you look at the world and you go, wow, you don't have a fucking clue what reality means. This is an ethical IQ. This is self-authority. Now you've got people, narcissists and abusers, who pursue authority to hijack power from other people. And instead of being quality experts, all they have is the word authority, with the delusion that that somehow comes with power. And it doesn't. Power comes from quality experts. Power comes from ethical knowledge. Power only comes from knowledge. The only power in the world is knowledge. There is no other power in this world. There is no other power in this world. Your power is 100% made up of what your value of your mind is. But it's not knowledge, because you can have 30 plus years in ontological physics and still be significantly ethically ignorant. And I had to learn that the hard way, that no amount of book smart, street smart doesn't work. Wisdom, no. The only power comes from ethical knowledge, which is why the Romans destroyed Alexandria in the 4th century, because they wanted the power. And they couldn't have people walking around teaching ethical knowledge. Now, could they? That is why Rome destroyed the epicenter, world capital of knowledge in the 4th century. The Roman Empire, to secure their power, declared war on ethical knowledge, which is why they sent St. Patrick into Ireland to destroy their ethical knowledge. St. Patrick preserved it and then hid it for another 1600 years before they figured it out. And then they went in and destroyed it in the 1600s, which is why we have the illuminated scripts. And they did it again in the 1100s with Crusades, because the Muslim Golden Age figured out the ethical knowledge, which is why they were inventing mathematical number systems. Because when you have ethical knowledge, you have wisdom and you have power. And the Holy Roman Empire / Roman Empire, same thing, absolutely declared war on ethical knowledge, which is why we've been living without it since the 4th century. Ethical knowledge is true and the only power. There is nothing else. There is absolutely no other power. Physics doesn't work that way. So, the feeling of self-authority being taken away from you has a severe consequence. And that consequence is a loss of control. I'm going to remind you, this is a delusion because you can't take power. So it gives you the feeling like you've lost control. Now, there are only 2 ways you can do anything with all the information you have in your life, all of it. There's only 2 answers. You can internalize it and apply what you feel to the self. So we're going to call this self-application. Now, if you do not utilize the skill self-application, and it is a skill, then it's going to result in a different kind of consequence. That consequence is projection. So either self-application or projection. And when you are not practicing self-application, this is not A. This is a excuse me. This is a dichotomy. It's A or not A. It's not A or B. That is toxic binary thinking. We don't do that. What you have is A and not A. It's a placeholder. There is no placeholder here. So it's in ratio. The more self-application you have, the less projection you have. If you are not utilizing the skill self-application, then you're going to be projecting. And if you're not consciously aware of self-application skill, you're going to be projecting all over the place. In order to get that under control, you need the self-application skill, and you also need the objective skill. No, I'm not going to say skill. I got to think about this. See, it's more of a state of mind. It's a focus. It's a focus. That's what it is. It's a focus, which is a skill. So you need the focus skill. You need the focus skill to get objective, and you need the self-application. So self-application plus the objective. Those are the two things that get projection under control. If you are not disciplined in these two skills, you are going to have a problem with a projection, unless you got lucky and you figured it all out accidentally. Or no one messed around with your learning journey, and as a result, you naturally learned it properly from Mother Nature. So self-appreciation, or I'm sorry, self-application with objective, those two skills, when you master those two skills, you get your ability or inability, you get projection under control. Now, projection actually is a skill. This is a discipline. This is one of my favorite mental disciplines. The skill of projection is actually supposed to be used strategically and with deliberation to point your scope, your perspective scope. And if you don't have that skill, then your projector is going to go all over the place. This is projection physics. It's the exact same thing as projection physics. So when you understand the self-application, objection, and projection, you have the ability to direct your scope where it is you want to put it at all times to ensure you stay in your own story. If you don't, this leads to identity displacement, which in societal language is called narcissism. So it's all absolutely contingent upon your ethical knowledge. I am on this massive front with authority where, and this is easily one of the hardest things that I personally am struggling with, is every time you reach a new layer of self-authority, you find challenges. Every single one of us has to go through this process. This is a process. There are tiers of self-authority that you have to claim. Tiers. The first one is your parents. This is the first tier of self-authority that you have to overcome. The next one is going to be your God or your tribe or the father of the house, head of the household. The next one above that is going to be the government or the law. Now, this is usually where it stops. People who are entrepreneurs have overcome that one, and they have made their own self-authority. And that is usually when people answer to physics. They answer to the self. But there is another one above that, and that is educated degree holders. Educated. So that's when you start actually evaluating, oh, this person has X amount of education. I have X amount of education. So I'm going to adhere to them because I need to be learning from them. So this happens at the fifth ethical perspective, where education becomes the authority. And then there is the ethical authority, ethical IQ. When you reach ethical IQ, then it becomes a pecking order of, okay, who is more ethical than I? Which is why people in the parents, God, and government stage are so offended when they hear someone being more ethical than them. And then they get aggressive, is because that's the true pecking order. The true pecking order is your ethical IQ. Now, this is where it gets to be really amusing to me. This is actually very funny, because at the sixth ethic, you learn, well, at the seventh ethic, you have learned equal footing, which means you are looking for, you're in a teacher-student mindset. You are looking for who is more ethical than I so I can learn from them. And you set that role model. And then it becomes okay, this is how ethical I am. This is how ethical I am. But you're no longer thinking, it's funny because this is what you're doing, but you're also lowering yourself down lower and lower, lower and lower. So the higher you climb, the lower you go. That's ethics. The higher you climb, the lower you go. And there is this point where I am so high up that no one sits lower than me. And there it is. I am so high up that no one sits lower than me. I'm boasting the lowest point here. That's where I'm at. It's like, yes, I am at the lowest. I'm going to elevate everybody up. Which means I am 100% most vulnerable. And it is my honor and privilege to be at your advantage. Consensual slavery. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have this ethical conundrum inside of me where I'm going, I claim the bottom. I claim the bottom. Absolutely claim the bottom, because that is where I can most effectively elevate people up. So I need to be at the bottom. I have to be at the bottom. So my pursuit is at the bottom. I love being at the bottom. Oh my God, yes. Consensual slavery. This is what it means to say I'm at the beginning and the end. Because you are at the top and the bottom at the same time. And in both places, you are at the mercy. Oh, it's not at the mercy. It's at the privilege of love, logic, and truth. And you are so stripped naked with love, logic, and truth. And I can feel the abuse and the scars from authority abuse. And I have long since learned how to stand unarmed and completely and fully embracing my truth at the bottom, right under the boots of the people who can destroy me. Vulnerability is the greatest courage there is. When you are going up against your own authority abuse, it requires skills. And it's this triangulation that I constantly have in my head that constantly triangulates me to ensure that I stay vulnerable, that I stay true to logic, love, and truth. And that is done through trust in the universe and faith in my own logic. Faith in logic. Faith in proof. That's the kind of shit you see at the point of comprehension. Faith in logic and faith in proof. That's how you know you are at the rod of truth, which is just a metaphor for an invisible point in the center of the point. But I really love the way it sounds, the rod of truth. You have to trust the truth. You have to have faith in the proof. You have to embrace vulnerable. And you have to embrace consensual slavery. And above all else, more than anything, you must preserve the mental minds of everybody else. That is the utmost of do no harm. That is the first law. So I invented a formula yesterday to help me with this. If they give you a question, you give them a question. If they attack you, you humiliate them. If they make a statement, you give them silence. And if they're frustrated, you give them a quest. That's it. Give me a question, I'll give you a question. You attack me, I'll humiliate you. You give me a statement, I'll give you silence. If you show me you're frustrated, I will give you a quest. Do no harm. It is a philosophical art form. To humiliate while also not doing harm. It is a skill. It is one that I am currently I was tested on this yesterday, and I am very happy with I was very happy with how I handled it. In order to pull that off, you have to be able to sort people, categorize them. There are the silent students, and those are my people. And then there are the noisy know-nothings. You ignore them. Those are the people who give you all the statements. Those are the unauthorized teachers, non-consensual teachers. They are rapists, rapists of energy, because they violate the second ethical law, which is you do not teach unless and until equal footing has been established. A rapist of energy, an energy rapist, is somebody who connects before equal footing is established, and it is one of the highest violation of the ethics. I have zero tolerance for it, which is why I give them silence. One individual attacked me. I simply said to him, ask. Do not judge. Do not judge is the 12th ethic. Asking is the 7th. So I say 7th and 12th. 7th and 12th. He broke the 7th and 12th ethic. 7th and 12th. He then insulted and attacked me again. I repeated, ask, don't judge. He attacked me a third time. And I said, yogi. He had called himself a yogi. I said, yogi. I see your truth. That's all I said to him. And that is all I will ever say. I know who is a liar. I know who is a fake. I know who is a narcissist. I stand at the point of comprehension where you can see all truth and all lies. And by seeing their truth, they're disarmed completely, because they are only as good as their delusion. So I teach people how to see delusion. That is one of my priorities. Very, very high priority is I teach people how to see delusion. so you can sort out the liars. One person was frustrated, so I gave him a quest. And I was able to step back from it all and went, there was the noisy know-nothings, the silent students, the lying fraud, and I could almost say it was a blocked student. It was a student, they were trying to learn, but they were truly stuck. So I could almost say a stuck student. When they're frustrated, that's a student who's trying to learn, but they hit a roadblock. So the quest almost always directs them, distracts them, puts it into action. It's so helpful. Oh my God, is it so helpful? So when you realize that all people fall into those 4 categories, silent students, lying fraud, noisy know-nothings, frustrated student, yeah, you got the world down to a science. Really got that down to a science. And I was able to put it into action. And it was absolutely extraordinary. Just, yeah. Words spoken only ever reflect the speaker. Words heard, interpretations made, only ever reflect the interpreter. This is what self-authority is. This is 100% all that self-authority is. It's knowing that your words only reflect you, that your interpretation only reflects you. It is ownership of your interpretation and ownership over your words. Narcissists can't do it. It is ownership and responsibility over your interpretation and your words. So when you are on social media and you are commenting, doesn't matter what you say, it is 100% a reflection of you, and it is mirroring your truth. Not mine, no one else's. It mirrors your truth. You are providing your interpretation of someone else's words, mirroring your truth. It's equivalent to everyone standing there naked on social media going, this is all of my problems, this is exactly who I am, and this is how insecure I am. And when you can read people like that, you can see all of the truth. That when you understand where the real mirror divide lies and you understand who's standing on what side of the mirror, oh yeah. So there is a mirror of truth. Oh my God, I love you, Don Quixote, Cervantes. There is a mirror of truth that stands. Oh my God, you really were like a 12 plus perspective. I swear Cervantes has been here. Cervantes lived. Yes, he did. One man. Oh, Cervantes has been here. No wonder why I love Don Quixote. Cervantes has been at the point of comprehension. That makes so much sense. That explains the theatrics in the night. I understand. I have been looking for you. Cervantes was a second expansion perspective. It's been a very long time since oh no, it hasn't. Oh my God. The last time I saw somebody was 31 perspectives ago. Nope. 28 perspectives ago. So every time you get to a perspective and you start to recognize the material of the greats, when you recognize the material of Ayn Rand, she's seventh perspective. When you recognize the material of Shakespeare, Shakespeare was the last one. Shakespeare was the last one. Shakespeare and Christ were the last two. Shakespeare and Christ were the last two. And that was a while ago. So that was back at the 28th perspective that I recognized Shakespeare and Christ. And then there hasn't been anyone since. There has not been anyone since. And I'm sitting here going, okay, so 28th perspective is what Christ and Shakespeare were at. And that's where their work stops. That's where their work stops. That's where you get to the 28th perspective, or the 28th perspective is the 28th level of consciousness. When you get to the 28th level of consciousness, so that is the fourth level. That's the fourth perspective of the they of I. So fourth perspective of they of I is what Shakespeare and Christ both were. And that's when you go, oh, they've been here before. And you know, okay, they've been here before. And they never made a P on that. And then I haven't had anyone since. And I'm like, all right, I'm the only one who's transversed these stages before. And I just found Cervantes. I've been looking for him. I'm like, where's Cervantes? I just found him. He is at the second the second expansion perspective. So he's at the point of comprehension, and then he's the second expansion out. And that's where Cervantes is. Now Don Quixote makes complete sense. Complete sense. So once you stand at the point of comprehension, you can see the mirror of truth, which is actually depicted in, which is why I'm going, the rod of truth. This is making so much more sense now. All of it makes sense. As soon as you get here, you know, all right, let's go story, because you go story because you know you're at the beginning. And at the beginning, you go right back to storytelling, which is why Don Quixote became a knight and went off in his stories with his books, because he was at the point of comprehension. He understood reality. He understood exactly where reality was, which is exactly what Cervantes, the whole book was about. So there is the mirror of reality, and you either stand on one side of the mirror or you stand on the other side. Now, when you look at people at the point of comprehension, you can go, oh, I know what side of the mirror they're on. And as soon as you know what side of the mirror they are on, you know when they're lying and when they're telling the truth, because you have the point of comprehension and the rod of truth, which is in relativity to everybody's truth, including your own. So suddenly you're able to tell exactly who's lying in relativity to the rod of truth. You can sort out all the liars so easily, so easily. And the very first thing you learn is that our words mirror our own truth. Our interpretation mirrors our own truth. Now, if you are doing this consciously, then you are at the point of comprehension. Well, no, you're not. That's not true, because you can be taught this. If you're at the point of comprehension, you don't need to be taught this. You just do it. You can sit down and break down the theory and dissect it and then reverse engineer it, explain the intuition to other people, and then you can condense it into simple format to transfer over to a student. That is what happens when you become a master at the point of truth. So every word out of everyone's mouth, every single word out of everyone's mouth suddenly makes clear sense. Either you are standing at the point of comprehension, or you are using your own logical code. The problem is, a logical code is the summation of all the logical trauma you have endured. So if your logical code is contaminated with logical trauma, you are not going to be at the point of truth, because your logical code is miscalibrated. The more logical health you lose, the more miscalibration you're going to be in relativity to the point of truth. And every word out of your mouth is going to reflect your own truth. Nothing else. Nothing else. Which renders each and every one of us powerless against the defined self. Hence, power. If you are ready for the next action in this chain reaction, if you wish to have a conversation with me, contact me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I only talk to the humble student. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.